It's time for our weekly partnership with Asante. This week, Asante's health expert, Beth Coker, explains the difference between sprains and strains and if you could be at higher risk.
And we do want to give a big shout out to Beth. This is her final Better Health segment for us here on MC5. She's been part of over 316 episodes, and we want to thank her for all she's done.
If you had to choose between a strain or a sprain, neither are much fun, but most people don't realize there's a difference between the two. A sprain is a condition caused by ligaments being stretched too far and often in the wrong direction. The most common areas in the body that are susceptible to sprains or strains are the back, ankle, wrist, knee, and believe it or not, the thumb. A strain is similar to a sprain, except that with strains, the muscles and tendons are majorly affected rather than the ligaments. The most common muscles affected by strains are the hamstring and your back. You may be at an increased risk if you have a history of sprains, you are in poor physical condition or are overweight, you participate in a lot of physical activity that happens on uneven surfaces, and you're fatigued because tired muscles are less likely to provide good support. Now, some symptoms are similar with strains and sprains, including pain, swelling, and loss of movement. But the difference between symptoms of sprains and strains is that sprains cause bruising and strains do not. Strains affect muscle and lead to muscle spasms instead. Any repetitive motion or state of overexertion can lead to the risk of a sprain or strain. Sitting, turning, or standing without concentrating on how you're moving can quickly turn into a sprain or a strain. Improperly lifting heavy objects is dangerous to ligaments and tendons and muscles. So warm up first and use proper form when lifting, or you could face a sprain or strain. Now, some ways to prevent sprains or strains is warming up before exercise or strenuous activity. Warm muscles and tendons have more flexibility and range of motion since they were stretched beforehand. Take extra caution when on surfaces that are slippery or that aren't mopped up when wet. Try to be in shape to play your sport. Don't play your sport to get in shape. And if you have a physically demanding occupation, regular conditioning can help prevent injuries. Always use footwear that offers support and protection. Mild sprains and strains are often treated at home with the RICE technique: rest, ice, compression, and elevation. However, if pain is unbearable and you can't put weight on the area, you should see a doctor. For more information on strains and sprains, visit health.asante.org.